Hello, everybody. Is it okay to start? Okay. Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear on-site and also online plant health enthusiasts. Welcome to the symposium, Plant Health Without Borders. My name is Lena Vlaming. I work as a scientific advisor at the Contractual Research Unit of the Federal Public Service Health, Food Chain Safety and Environment in Belgium, and I will be your host for this afternoon. It's a packed program, so I will not talk too long and I will just get started. And we start with, maybe also to mention, if you want to share this amazing event, you can always do this using the hashtag Plant Health Without Borders. It's also all in your program booklet, so you can easily follow there as well. Let's start with an introduction by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Agriculture of Belgium. We are honored that he is wanting to give this introduction, but unfortunately, as many of you know, we're very close to the elections, so he couldn't be here in person, but he made a very nice video to welcome you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, dear plant health enthusiasts. On behalf of the Belgian Presidency of the Council of the EU, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here in Brussels for the symposium Plant Health Without Borders. Here, on this unique location at the Belgian Institute of Natural Science, we are vastly reminded of our task as humans to take care of our planet's health in all its dimensions. On the same location as you are today, in March 2020, the Royal Mint of Belgium and the Federal Public Service Health, Food Chain Safety and Environment launched a commemorative €2 coin to promote the International Year of Plant Health. Maybe some of you still carry this special coin in your wallet. In continuation of that initiative, and to build on the idea of protecting plants, protecting life, the United Nations has designated the 12th of May as the International Day of Plant Health to draw continued global attention to how protecting plant health can help end hunger, reduce poverty, protect biodiversity and the environment, and boost economic development. This year, the focus of the International Day of Plant Health is on raising awareness and taking concrete actions to keep our plants healthy and ensure food safety and safe trade for sustainable economies and livelihoods. Using the momentum of the International Day of Plant Health, the Belgian Presidency would like to emphasize the importance of collaboration in plant health at all levels, national, regional, and international. Plants are the basis for life on Earth. They provide us with air to breathe and food to eat. As such, plant health is considered as a public good, and its protection is more than justified. Today, due to global warming and human activities, such as trade and travel, plants are under severe pressure. Invasive pest species are one of the main drivers of biodiversity loss and threaten the delicate balance of life that sustains our planet. Plant pests can cause catastrophic economic and ecological damage. All stakeholders, policymakers, the agricultural sector, researchers, and the general public share the responsibility to take up the challenge to tackle this threat. As the title of the symposium, Plant Health Without Borders, so elegantly describes, plant pests don't stop at your border, so neither should collaboration. And we don't only envision crossing geographical borders. Building on the One Health approach, the Belgian Presidency looks beyond the borders of plant health and highlights its interconnectedness with human environmental and animal health. Our vision emphasizes that the balance between these different building blocks is essential for our long-term well-being. The first speakers of this afternoon will emphasize the importance of collaboration in plant health policy. Examples of plant health networks, they added value, relevant and opportunities for collaboration and coordination will also be presented. Next, experiences of researchers will highlight the need and benefits of international research collaboration, as it is research that plays a key role in shaping plant health policy and in developing scientific expertise and infrastructure in support of plant health and plant protection efforts. To finish, our reflection on future challenges and ways to tackle these challenges will be debated. It's my strong belief that at the end of today, you all will be convinced of the importance of international collaboration to underpin plant health policy at national, regional, and international level. Let's work together and cross these borders. Thank you for your attention.
During the first part of the program, we will focus on the policy needs and views on international collaboration. Using the momentum of the International Day of Plant Health, the keynote speakers from the European Commission and the International Plant Protection Convention emphasize the importance of collaboration in plant health policy. I first give the floor to Ms. Claire Bury from the European Commission. Ms. Claire Bury is currently Deputy Director General in Directorate General Health and Food Safety with responsibility for food safety and sustainability. She was previously Deputy Director General for the Digital Single Market in Directorate General Communication Networks, Content and Technology, and Director of Modernization of the Single Market in Directorate General Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship and SMEs. Before that, she was Head of Unit for Company Law, Corporate Governance and Financial Crime in Directorate General Internal Market and Services, and Deputy Head of Cabinet to the Internal Market Commissioner Charlie McCreevy and Frits Bolkestein. An English barrister by training, she worked in the Commission's legal service and before coming to Brussels in the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office. I don't believe she needs any further introductions, so I leave the floor to you, Ms. Bury, for your speech.
Thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone. I conclude from that the DGs in the Commission have far too long names. I think we have to show on them. So, dear Chief Plant Health Officer, Ria, dear colleagues and dear enthusiasts of plant health, I really love that. I was going to say friends of plant health, but enthusiast sounds, I think, communicates to you much better as a species than the word friends. So it's really a pleasure to be here on the occasion of this symposium, which brings together, obviously, scientists, regulatory experts, and some of the policymakers. Thank you very much to our colleagues from the Belgian Presidency for organising this, for keeping alive the spirit of the International Year of Plant Health of 2020, where Osama and I were lucky enough to meet in the celebrations around that, and also for letting us celebrate Plant Health Day in this unique museum. I was saying to my colleague on the way over that those of us who live in Belgium, and I've lived here for 30 years now, it's a place where we bring our children when they're small to learn about science and nature, but unfortunately it's a place we don't get to come back to ourselves. But coming here today makes me think it's time that I came and had another visit, so thank you very much. It's a really unique place, I think, to have this symposium. So the title of the conference, it's disappeared now, but it was Plant Health Without Borders, and you all know very well that pests have no borders. They move with trade, they move with people, and of course they move on their own. And as our climate changes, they find hosts and climatic conditions which mean that they can spread to new areas. But I think the challenge that we face in that respect is now huge, and unfortunately, it's still growing. I want to speak, first of all, about the key challenges that we see in the Commission, the areas that we need to work on, how we can take work forward in those areas, and how we can make international collaboration and cooperation, which is the subject of today's symposium, fit into that and to propel us further towards meeting the challenges. So first of all, the challenges. Our first one, we think, is still emerging pests. So the rapid spread that we saw of the fall armyworm, which is obviously, as you know, a quarantine pest and a priority pest for the EU, and the way that it spread between 2016 and today, I think really was a wake-up call for everybody in terms of how can we work together to solve a common problem like this, which is really unfolding with such speed before our eyes. And even closer to home amongst some of our own EU member states, but also in other continents too, the tomato brown rugosa virus. And the way that that conquered the world was, I think, still quite shocking. Yeah? So for fall armyworm, the EU not only was looking at what was happening within our borders, but also was contributing to the global activities organised by the FAO to address the losses in maize production in Africa and Asia. And we've tried to use the lessons from that experience when we were preparing our new framework to have a more harmonised eradication and control for the pest. And also, now we've got a specific topic on fall armyworm in our EU Horizon research programme, and I'll come to that later on as well. Also, we will put in place shortly now what we call our Union Plant Health Team. That's based on an idea that we had for animal health, but now we see that we can use this idea of bringing together experts from within the EU and sending them to crisis spots to help the other member states work and sort out problems. So we'll be putting that in place. And we also now have a full database with the results of plant health inspections over the last 2 years, thanks to the connection with Traces, which is the database that we use for imports and exports. And we'll be using this to integrate with our policy, so better using our data to fit with our policy for our risk-based import inspections. And from the global perspective, we support the development and strengthening of the Global Pest Outbreak Alert and Response System, POAS, obviously under the umbrella of the IPPC. We think that the global coordination under that system really has the potential for becoming a key instrument for countries and regions to avoid and respond to the introduction and outbreaks of pests. And that's why we've decided from the EU, we don't have much money for those things, but we've decided this is something we really want to put our financing into, and also our in-kind contributions. Now, the second challenge that we see is raising levels of preparedness. In the EU, this is really at the top of our list, and it means that we're able, I think, to come with quick responses. It's already embedded in our policy, and we have a number of tools and infrastructures. I'll just recall a few examples of those. We have our European Food Safety Agency, which is based in Parma. I think there are colleagues here today. The trip down to Parma is one that I make very often because I'm on the board there, and I really, really appreciate the work that our colleagues in EFSA do. And they have been looking at horizon scanning activities, which will act as an early warning system. The output that we give there is publicly available to everyone and for all interested parties. EFSA has also been working on public awareness. This is the follow-on to the project that was started in 2020, raising public awareness as well around plant health and what the public can do. Surveys are also key with effective diagnostic tools. So we help our member states scientifically and financially. EFSA is mandated to produce guidelines for surveys of quarantine pests. And we're now also making those available in what we call story maps, which you can get on your mobile phone, and those are, again, freely available to anyone that wants them. And lastly, in terms of the tools we have here, we have 5 EU reference laboratories, which are fully operational. They provide harmonised diagnostic protocols for all our quarantine pests, and they support our member states in the surveys that they have to do. So again, just to underline, these are tools that we make within the EU, but they are publicly available for all. The third challenge is the one that the Deputy Prime Minister spoke about at the beginning, which is this challenge of One Health. Obviously, no one in this room has a doubt about whether people, animals and plants and their health are very closely linked, and the integrated responses through this One Health principle which is, I think, now quite well established. The concept's not new, it's just that recent crises have put the spotlight on it. But I think the real challenge now, and it's one which we hope you in this room will help us to meet, which is how do we accelerate our response and operationalise the response to the One Health challenge? Because we talk a lot about it. I can say that very much in our Directorate General, we talk a lot about it. So there are a couple of projects I'll mention in a minute where we're already working quite intensely. But really the challenge is to say, what does that One Health, what does it mean in practice? So on antimicrobial resistance, I think we've seen great advances over the last 5 to 10 years. Over the last 5 years, while I've been working in DG Sante, I think control of zoonosis, obviously, post-COVID, and now we're working on the highly pathogenic avian influenza and how we can be very careful there in terms of surveillance of what happens with the spread. As you know, the outbreaks in the US in dairy cattle recently, but how do we make sure that we know much more about the way that those zoonosis diseases spread between animals and humans? But I think really the new frontier on this is plant health. This is really the area now that we need to, if I can say that, dig deeper and see how we can improve the One Health situation as far as plant health is concerned. So thanks again to EFSA, we have scientific work which has mapped the use of antibiotics in plant protection products and also looks at antimicrobial resistance with the use of those substances and their effect on microbes. But while we're looking at antibiotics, we shouldn't forget fungicides, and we'll be looking at that in the near future. And obviously, Osama, we know that in the IPPC, this is at the top of your list as well, and we look forward to seeing how we can further collaborate and operationalise that there. So now, just a few words about the way forward in meeting these challenges. Our first priority, as I've already mentioned, is supporting the IPPC work and the standard setting activities. We contribute financially and scientifically, and we'll continue to do so. And our very good friend, the Secretary General, Osama El-Lissy, will tell you more about their activities, and I would just like to confirm that our support for POAS, for ePhyto, and the commodity standards will continue. And we really value the very close cooperation that we have, and I think the fruitful work that we do. On the EU side, we continue to contribute through the funds that we put into research and innovation. Again, Horizon Europe, our research programme, is open to the world. It facilitates collaboration and strengthens the impact of research and innovation and tackling these global challenges. There's a strong element of cooperation in the way that research programme works, and we've tried to very much make that an integral part of what happens on the plant health policy. And last but by no means least, of course, it's in little letters down there, EUPHRESCO III already. But this has been, I think, a fantastic project which has been funded during different research programmes. It's now under a specific call for the Horizon Europe programme under the umbrella activity widening and strengthening the European research area. The value of these coordinated activities under EUPHRESCO has already been seen in previous years. They have mobilised great resources to tackle new pests arriving in the EU, new diagnostic tools, and very useful insights on epidemics. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to conclude now, or enthusiasts, plant health enthusiasts, if I may call you that once again, in our world full of challenges, I think wicked problems we can call them, and financial constraints, working together to solve problems in plant health is the only way. There is no other alternative. Our commitment from the EU side to international cooperation is second to none. It will continue, and we will strive to nurture it so that it grows from strength to strength. Today's conference is designed to share knowledge of plant health networks, to provide testimonies of the benefits of cooperation, and to showcase the work of EUPHRESCO. I'd like to once again thank you very much warmly, our Belgian colleagues from FPS Health, for bringing us together and for providing with us with such an inspiring setting and fine examples of how international cooperation can work in practice. So let's hope that the symposium will also sow a few seeds of ideas which can take root and which can grow during the coming year and which we can then harvest ahead of next year's Plant Health Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this very nice talk Our next talk, as already mentioned a bit by Ms. Bury, is by Dr. Osama El-Lissy. Dr. Osama El-Lissy is the Secretary of the International Plant Protection Convention, or IPPC. The IPPC is a global intergovernmental treaty involving 185 countries, and it is responsible for setting and implementing international phytosanitary standards to protect the health of plant resources and to facilitate the global trade of agricultural products. Prior to his current appointment as the IPPC Secretary in March 2022, Dr. El-Lissy worked for the United States Department of Agriculture, short USDA, for almost 22 years. For the past 10 years, he served as Deputy Administrator of USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. In that role, Dr. El-Lissy led the National Plant Protection Organization of the United States and served as the country's Chief Plant Health Officer. He also provided leadership to 3,000 employees in the United States and around the world. Before joining USDA in 2000, Dr. El-Lissy worked for the Texas Boll Weevil Eradication Foundation from 1994 to 2000, leading one of the largest pest eradication programs in the world. From 1986 to 1994, he worked with the Arizona Cotton Research and Protection Council, managing large-scale cotton pest eradication programs in Arizona and the southwestern region of the United States. Dr. El-Lissy holds a doctorate degree in management from the University of Maryland, a Master of Business Administration from Georgetown University, and I'm not finished, there's another one, a Master of Public Administration from the American University, and also a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture Production and Entomology from Cairo University. I think I can give you the floor now.
Thank you so much. I'd forgotten how old I am until I heard the introduction. And so thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this important gathering. It is my honor, pleasure to represent the International Plant Protection Convention. I wanted to thank our colleague and friend, the Belgian Plant Health Officer, Chief Plant Health Officer. Thank you for hosting us and having us come together here. We thank the Belgian Presidency for always thinking about plant health. And through this event here, there's another illustration of their leadership on plant health issues. We thank the EU for the support and the partnership that we've had all along for many years. And without that, I think IPPC would not be the IPPC we know today. So, colleagues, friends, as we observe the International Day of Plant Health, I would like to begin with a very simple premise, a premise that I ended up with on Monday at the International Day of Plant Health observance in Rome. That is, no plants, no life. That is the premise. Plants provide nearly all the oxygen we breathe, as the Deputy Prime Minister just indicated. 98% of the oxygen we breathe comes from plants. So can you imagine life without oxygen? Plants provide over 80% of the food we eat. Again, can you imagine life without food? Plants serve as the lungs of the earth. They absorb the suffocating carbon dioxide, other harmful gases from the atmosphere, so we can have cleaner air and healthier environment. So, no plants, no oxygen. No plants, no food. No plants, no environment. Hence, no plants, no life. However, as we all know all too well, unfortunately, the plants seem to be under siege from pests and diseases. According to many reports that many of you have authored, as well as FAO, plants pests destroy between 20 to 40% of agricultural crops, including food, globally, each year. In some regions of the world, that number is even worse. It's up to 60% in regions like Central Africa in some years. Rising temperature are intensifying pest infestations, threatening sustainable agriculture, and this drags the world behind in our goal to ensure zero hunger by 2030. All these problems transcend geographic borders and put the world in the eye of a perfect storm. Plant pathogens such as Xylella, HLB, and Fusarium can destroy iconic crops such as olives, citrus, and bananas. Pests like full armyworm destroyed between 40 to 60% of corn crops in Africa. Fruit fly, spotted lantern fly, red palm weevil, potato weevil, false-coloring moth, Tuda absoluta, viruses can easily destroy fruits and vegetables that the world relies on for food and economic growth through international trade. These are the facts. All the while, nearly 800 million people continue to face hunger around the world. Pests like longhorn beetle, emerald ash borer, pine wood nematode, and many others destroy our precious forests. Increasing volumes and movement of goods and people across international frontiers have made it easier for pests to move farther and more easily into new areas. Insect species that could, for instance, be native and harmless to plants in one country can rapidly become a major problem in a new country. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a race against time and for life. We have an opportunity to significantly reduce world hunger, reduce global poverty, take firm climate actions, and sustain life on Earth by strengthening our defenses against plant pests. International collaboration is one of the most effective ways to deal with these problems, as articulated very well by DDG Burry. The IPPC provides a common and harmonized framework for phytosanitary and plant protection activities for its 185 member countries, they call them contracting parties, as a foundational or fundamental step in sustaining global collaboration for plant health. The EU has been a staunch supporter and partner of the IPPC for many, many years, and we are very grateful for that. As many of you know, the IPPC was established in 1951, but only in 1990 did the global community consider the value of the international standards on phytosanitary measures, or ICPMs, in ensuring that countries use harmonized measures or approaches in dealing with plant pests in an effective, consistent manner. The Commission on Phytosanitary Measures, or CPM for short, is the main governing body of the IPPC. The CPM helps adopting standards, sometimes amending standards, to help with the overall fight against pests. The CPM reflects a meeting of minds dedicated to protecting our plant resources, sustaining food production, and making trade safer. Through CPM subsidiary bodies, technical working groups, as well as the RPPC Secretariat, we are able to develop tools to help countries implement standards as effectively as possible. RPPC doesn't do that by itself or alone. RPPC relies on its community through contracting parties throughout the world. And we are very grateful for your support and help in carrying out the work of the RPPC. The RPPC Strategic Framework 2020-2030, many of you here in the room help framing, is advocating for global phytosanitary research coordination to increase cross-pollination of research ideas and generation of scientific knowledge and solutions to plant health problems. By working together, countries and regions can tackle issues unique to their regions and harness regional opportunities to prevent plant pests. The RPPC proposed about a year ago or so the creation of a global phytosanitary program to build technical capacity of national plant protection organizations. The first attempt at this ambitious vision is in Africa, where the Africa Phytosanitary Program is underway in 11 pilot countries. Europe is one of Africa's biggest trading partners, and sustaining safe trade in agricultural products is key. Although APP, supported by FAO, the African Union, the United States, the EU, UK, among many others, the RPPC has been looking for support and help to advancing this important initiative. The APP provides countries with the technical, scientific evidence, as well as the most advanced digital technology in helping carrying out early detection and rapid response for pests of environmental, economic, and agricultural significance. The second phase of APP is expected to start this year, bringing another 11 countries. So we hope by the end of this year, 2024, we would have 22 countries participating in the Africa Phytosanitary Program. We continue to learn, continue to partner. Certainly, EUPHRESCO will play a very important role in providing technical, working with Gabi, and learning from their experience developing response plan for some of those pests. But we're bringing the community together in a very harmonized, focused approach to dealing with those very challenging issues in Africa and beyond. One of the tools to strengthen international collaboration for plant health is the RPPC e-Phyto solution, electronic certification solution. This innovative tool helps countries harmonize electronic data exchange by replacing paper phytosanitary certificates with digital ones called e-Phyto. Using e-Phytos improves exporting and importing plants or plant products by reducing cost and fraud and making international trade safer. By the start of this month, 132 countries were registered to use the tool, 9 of which are actively exchanging e-Phytos. Currently, countries are exchanging about 200,000 e-Phytos monthly. Our vision as pointed out in the IPPC strategic framework, is that all countries will have implemented the IPPC EUPHRESCO solution by 2030. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we all have a role to play as we move forward. Scientists must continue their innovative research in advancing methods and technologies to minimize the impact of plant pests on agriculture production and the environment. Governments, policymakers, legislative leaders need to continue to prioritize plant health, promote investment in plant health innovations, phytosanitary capacity, and infrastructure development. Public-private partnerships play a critical role in increasing agricultural productivity, embracing international phytosanitary standards, safer and integrated pest management, and facilitating the safe trade of agricultural commodities. Coordination with other relevant sectors through the One Health initiative. We think it is important to underscore the fact that plant health serves as the foundation of One Health, as unhealthy plants directly impact animal, people, and environmental health. The annual ryegrass, aflatoxin, and others, which are plant pathogens, can cause toxicity to animals and humans, are great examples as how plant health contributes to One Health. We need to increase the level of awareness to the public at large about potential spread of plant pests in multiple pathways and how they can mitigate such risks. Online shopping or e-commerce, which has revolutionized the way products are purchased, is one of the multiple new pathways for pests to spread. Another pathway is international travel, which has tripled over the past decade. When passengers bring plant products such as fruits, vegetables, seeds, or flowers, can unintentionally spread pests and diseases. As individuals, we can take action by buying and consuming those agricultural products domestically or locally. Much like the message from the DDG. Together, we can protect the earth, our agriculture, and trade from the devastation caused by plant pests. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's go over to the next part. As the importance of collaboration in plant health policy is clear by the two very nice speeches we just heard, we will now focus on examples of plant health networks and plant health activities. There will be a 10-minute Q&A, but we keep it till the end of the session, and that is also why I asked the speakers of this section to stay on the podium over here in these very nice chairs after their talk, so that it's easier to have the Q&A in the end. First, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Baldissera Giovani. Dr. Giovani holds a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biophysics from the University Pierre-Marie Curie in France, and a Master in Management, Specialty Intellectual Property and Innovation from the University of Strasbourg. After postdoctoral experience at the Rockefeller University in New York, Dr. Giovani worked in governmental agencies and private companies on practical problems such as the development of therapeutic vaccines against cancer or diagnostic tests for zoonoses. Since 2008, he has been interested in research funding, international research cooperation, and transnational public-public partnership. Since 2014, Dr. Giovani has been coordinating the EUPHRESCO network that was already mentioned before, and more recently, the EUPHRESCO III project. Therefore, I really want to invite Dr. Giovani to the platform here to give a nice speech. This is to the next. And this is back.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great honor for me to be standing today in front of you and to have the opportunity to present the work of the EUPHRESCO network concerning research coordination. So, in order to do so, I would like you to accompany me through this spatio-temporal gate because we have to go back in 2000. At that time, despite being coordination at EU level for the development of EU plant health policy, there was no coordination of national phytosanitary research programs, nor coordination via multinational agencies of research activities to underpin policy making. And in 2004, a report from the CE Presidency highlighted the need for better cooperation between research funders in the phytosanitary area. Later that year, at the CE Council Working Party meeting of the Chief Officer of Plant Health Services, the need to revive the scientific basis of the phytosanitary field was unanimously supported. And a note from DG Sanco, today DG Sante, supported the establishment of a working group by the COPs to develop an AeroNet project proposal for plant health. And this is how the European Phytosanitary Research Coordination, the EUPHRESCO network, started. The project received support from a number of international organizations and initiatives that were playing a role in plant health at that time. Since then, EUPHRESCO has been coordinating research in plant health in Europe and internationally. As you can see from the slide, there has been an important change in the development of EUPHRESCO, which is the geographical widening of the network. This is an evidence of the value of research coordination in Europe and beyond. But there is another change that is less evident, which is linked to the type of organizations that are members of the network. EUPHRESCO started as a network of research funders, but today we have different organizations with different mandates, research funders, policymakers, research implementing organizations from the public and private sectors, and they all work together on plant health research and together with the end users of research for better outcomes and harmonization of activities. What are the benefits of research coordination and international collaboration? Well, there are many, but they depend on the type of end users. For the research funders, research coordination brings an optimization of the funding because synergies are favored among different agencies. For the research implementing organizations, the benefits are linked to networking, knowledge exchange, capacity building, higher quality of the result, and higher impact of the results. You have to see the project as a neutral place where different people can work together. And for this reason, it is very important to engage with all the stakeholders interested in plant health. And these are national stakeholders. I will never stop saying that there is no transnational coordination without national coordination, but also stakeholders and organizations from all over the world, because sometimes the expertise and knowledge is not available in Europe, and it is then necessary to create links with key bodies in all new countries. And this is what EUPHRESCO has been trying to do in recent years. So how all this was achieved until now? The coordination of EUPHRESCO has been hosted within the European and Mediterranean Plant Protection Organization since 2014. There are several reasons why this has been decided. The main one being that one of the activities in the mandate of EPO is to facilitate cooperation and research. And EUPHRESCO provides the organizations that are in charge of this cooperation, provides the resources, provide the processes that have been internationally validated and tested for many years, and provide the expertise. By coordinating research programs and by implementing research projects, EUPHRESCO produces research evidence that is then used for the EPO standard setting activities. The EPO standards are then used to promote harmonization of measures, which eventually are used to advise member governments. So this is a direct input of EUPHRESCO into EPO activities, but there is another indirect way of EUPHRESCO supporting EPO, which is by supporting cooperation, EUPHRESCO facilitates knowledge exchange and capacity building. Capacity, which is essential for the harmonization of measures. You cannot harmonize the work of different people if these people do not possess the same knowledge and expertise. And I would like to end with a practical example of how EUPHRESCO has performed this. And I decided to focus on Xylella fastidiosa because it's an important pest for Europe, but also globally. So Xylella fastidiosa was first reported in Europe in 2013, and at that time, the question of the EU diagnostic proficiency was raised. And so a project was initiated through EUPHRESCO to support the collaboration of the EU diagnostic laboratories in charge of the diagnosis of the bacterium. And the laboratories were able to work together and together with laboratories from America on a few practical and technical questions. These activities were also run in collaboration with other international projects such as Ponte and XF Factors project funded by the European Commission. And all these efforts allowed the scientists to exchange knowledge, to produce data that has been used to develop diagnostic protocols that are now used to support the activities of the diagnostic laboratories and to instruct regulation. And because research answers some questions, but also raises new ones, doesn't go over anymore, then the activities of EUPHRESCO on Xylella fastidiosa have been continued since through other projects. So, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for this very nice overview of EUPHRESCO. Our next speaker is Dr. MaryLucy Oronje from Kabi. Dr. Oronje has over 15 years of experience in sanitary and phytosanitary in developing countries. She has a wide knowledge in phytosanitary, crop protection, integrated pest management, biological control, crop pollination, and pollinator conservation. Currently, Dr. Oronje is a senior SPS scientist based at the Kabi, based at Africa office in Nairobi, Kenya. Her experience includes pest risk analysis, inspections, surveillance, and other official controls. She holds a PhD in biology from Bielefeld University in Germany. MaryLucy is currently leading CABI's regional champion activity for Africa under EUPHRESCO III project, which we will hear about later on during the presentations. Unfortunately, Dr. Oronje could not join us in person today, but instead of that, we will see her in a very large version on the screen, because she will give her presentation online if everything goes fine, but I think it will. However, some of her colleagues are here today to represent CABI, and they are also taking part in the Knowledge Forum later on. So like that, you have an option to interact with CABI as well. Dr. Oronje, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Today, I would like to share with you the presentation on examples of plant health networks and activities from Africa. I am actually taking this particular presentation from Botswana, where I am attending EU-wide SPS forum, sharing experiences from across the globe, from across Africa. Please confirm with me if you can see my screen and if you can hear me well. Thank you. As we celebrate the International Day of Plant Health, I would like to start by reiterating that plant health is not optional. No plants, no life, and therefore plant health is a priority at individual, at community, at national, and also at global level. I will be sharing with you some highlights on examples of plant health networks and activities from Africa, and really showing some key tenets of what successful partnerships and networks in plant health look like. I will share these examples at national level, taking some examples at regional and also a global level where Africa is involved. At the end of my presentation, I'm going to also highlight some barriers and opportunities for collaboration and partnerships in plant health. Okay, so this is the outline of my presentation. First, I'll introduce CABI and its partners. I'll also share the case studies, some examples at national, regional, and global level, and also end with the barriers and opportunities. So in brief, for those who do not know about CABI, that is Center for Agriculture and Biosciences International, this is a not-for-profit intergovernmental organization. And we are owned by the 48 member countries. And we have a global reach. And our areas, we address the global concerns such as food security, food safety through research and international development. Just by that nature of CABI, it shows the networks, the collaboration with the government, their public institutions in agriculture, environment, research organization, ministries, and regulators. So already, and I'm happy that this has also been highlighted by Dr. Baldissera, you cannot have a network if the government and the institutions are not involved. So this is quite key, and CABI really harnesses that opportunity. These are some examples of our members countries and where we work, just to highlight this partnership, great partnership that we've had so far. As a start, I want to highlight one of these particular projects that is in PlantWise Plus, and how it plays an important role in plant health system, building collaboration, building networks with the plant health institutions in countries that we work in. The PlantWise Plus aims to be able to help countries build capacity to be able to predict, prevent, and prepare for plant health threats and to reduce crop losses. Our approach is about national coordination, regional coordination, and also global coordination in the areas of pest prioritization, risk analysis, surveillance, and pest management. This is quite important because it shows how the public sector, how the different regions can come together and help in improving plant health system in the specific countries. I also want to highlight one of the very successful projects that we've had and our experience on it, through it, that is the Australia-Africa Plant Biosecurity Partnership. This particular project in 2018 really established the strong collaboration, the cross-pollination, increasing capacity between different countries in Africa and Australia. We had about 15 senior fellows, about also 30 junior fellows drawn from the public sector and the private sector. And this particular project was helping in building capacity around phytosanitary. The partners ranged from the Australia government, the Center for International Agricultural Research, the Plant Biosecurity, CRC, the Crawford Fund, FAO in Africa. We had also the regional RECs and the countries that were participating. Important, what we learned about this is about sustainability. Quite a great partnership project, very good learnings, capacity building, but which we don't have the sustainability model built onto it at the beginning. Then I think it's very important to have that at the beginning. So that's one key lesson that we learned from this particular partnership that we would wish to share here. The other is on the Kabi Bioprotection Portal, and this is about networking, but with private sector involved. For private sector, usually it is what is in it for them. And this particular bioprotection portal brings together the public sector, again, the private sector, in improving access to lower risk pesticides like the biopesticides solutions across board. And we have now have about 21 private sector involved. The portal is live in 44 countries. And what we see here is a key lesson for us is how to get private sector, be involved in networks, in partnerships, in plant health. We have to decide what for the goal, what is in it for them. These are some of the members on the bioprotection portal. At the national level, I would like to highlight the multi-institution technical institution in Kenya, that is MITT. That came about as the result of the crisis on MNLD, that is the maize lethal necrosis disease invasion. And at the invasion time, a team was developed. This is an ad hoc team. But so far, this particular MITT has been so important in management of the subsequent invasions, the tutor absoluta, the fall armyworm, and now the golden apple snail. Here the lesson is there is a purpose, but sometimes the ad hoc technical teams, the partnerships that bringing in the private sector, when they have a solution, it is something that is very important in terms of plant health. And this particular picture you see on the screen is the MITT visiting MNLD screening facility, finding solutions. And now with the help with private sector, now varieties resistant to MNLD are now available to farmers. Another network I wanted to highlight is the Regional Plant Protection Organization, and this is EU-IPSAC. As a regional plant protection network, it's brought up all the NPPOs in Africa, coordinating plant health in Africa. And the AU plant health strategy, the objective number 2, strengthening institution capacity and coordination, really talks to the theme of today. How do we coordinate plant health, and how do we bring these things together? How do we bring 54 AU member states with different needs, with different capacities together to be able to champion plant health to the next level. And we have worked with the USDA, for instance, on harmonization of biopesticides and also championing for E-phyto adoption. The Secretary RPPC also mentioned about the African phytosanitary program. And I think I would just want to add that this is a very important partnership program that is bringing, improving the plant health sector. I want to also highlight the Africa Consortium for FOCTIER4 management that also came about at the invasion of the Fusarium in Mozambique. Again, this has been a strong partnership project bringing the countries and also the regional economic blocks and the experts together to be able to manage the spread of FOCTIER4. What is important is coming together for a purpose to stop the spread of FOCTIER4. And so far, they have stopped the spread of FOCTIER4, which has a very high potential of spread in Africa. For now, we still just have it in Mozambique, and I think now Mayotte. And now this is quite important partnership, and we currently have the Tier 4 Global Network that has now been championed by FAO to be able to coordinate management of FOCTIER4. I want to highlight the fall armyworm. I think during the invasion, the national countries were more organized than the continental and also the global action. So it is important that as we think of these networks, also we think about the response. And I'm aware that the IPPC through the POAS technical working group and mechanism is going to enhance this very early detections, but also how the partnerships can come together quite quickly to be able to stop the spread of pests. Now, I want to highlight some barriers to collaborative research. One of them is different priorities in plant health in the regions, different technological infrastructure, fragmentation, inconsistency of regulatory frameworks that can sometimes become a blocker, inadequate information sharing, for instance, on pest reporting, and also lack of funds. Talking again about, the membership, the purpose, the resources, and also the sharing of information as key tenets of partnerships. There are, of course, opportunities, and one of them that I would like to highlight is the willingness of the private sector to be part of these partnerships, the collaboration between national government and also at the global arena. And I think this is quite important. If we have to move plant health to the next level, then collaboration is something that is quite critical and key to be able to have sustainable plant solution. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the slides and also examples that I wanted to share with you to enable us think forward. How do we enhance plant health collaboration and partnership to the next level on this celebration of the International Day of Plant Health? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oronje, for your nice presentation. And normally, it's also possible to ask her questions during the Q&A later on, if everything works well. Okay. The next speaker is Mr. Pablo Gomez Grande, International Projects Officer at INEA CSIC. Mr. Pablo Gomez Grande is agricultural engineer and master in agro-environmental and agri-food sciences, specialized in European projects management. He has experience as a consultant and advisor for plant health capacity building programs, and he works currently at the Spanish National Institute for Agricultural and Food Research and Technology. He is the main representative for the Spanish Research Council at the EUPHRESCO III project, taking the role of regional champion for the Latin America and the Caribbean region. The floor is yours.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you on behalf of INEA FESIC for inviting us today to approach the Latin American and the Caribbean region and to share our humble experience with the networks there. Before moving to the networks, I would like to remind the global challenge to briefly introduce the region. So let's go. Well, over and over again, plant pests have no borders. 4 messages. Up to 40% of worldwide crops could be affected by plant pests. Harmful organisms could move easily between countries, regions, and continents. Research and innovation is essential, and international coordination is needed. For illustrating this, I would like to invite you to travel back to the history. You can see there in the corner an old picture of Phylloxera drinking French wine. Well, Phylloxera traveled from America to Europe by ship, and it was about to kill the whole European wine industry in the 19th century. It took a long time and effort to control it. Actually, it was not a control, but it was an adaptation, bad grafting. But it was thanks to research and regional coordination. Let's talk about the region. Well, this is just flash figures to give you an idea on how big, diverse, vulnerable, and challenging is this region. If we are considering all the countries, including the Caribbean islands and dependent territories, we are over 40. 662 million people, which is over the 8% of the world population. It's hosting the 50% of the world biodiversity, and you can see there the extension for agricultural land use and forestry area. This is the site of Latin America and the Caribbean. It's well known, but it's quite visual to see from our European Union perspective how small we are. 20.5 million square kilometers from the northern Mexico to the southern Chile. Well, then quick figures to give you also an idea on how relevant is the agricultural and production in the region. The Latin American and the Caribbean is the first world producer for soy, sugarcane, and coffee, among others, and you can see there the trend for agricultural export value. Well, based on these figures, this is a fascinating region, but extremely challenging from the phytosanitary point of view. The biodiversity here is a treasure, but it's a fragile treasure. Climate change is changing the behavior of the plant pests worldwide, and with high incidence in Latin America. Harmful organisms are directly affecting food security and, of course, also food safety. Trade is the first pathway to the worldwide movement of the plant pests, and all this is directly impacting the socioeconomics. Well, indeed, this is not a game, but it's important to keep in mind that there are a lot of interconnected and cross-cutting aspects here. We already talked about Shilella. Shilella is unfortunately well known in Europe. It's believed that it came from Northern America, from California to Europe, but there's a paper there that is suggesting that they come from Costa Rica. Just curiosity. Anyway, we have to take in mind climate change, trade regulations, regional policies, etc. What is clear is that Latin America and the Caribbean has an important role in the world food, in the future of the world food, and is a big player in this common challenge to face plant health issues. A few words about my institution. Well, the Spanish National Institute for Agricultural and Food Research and Technology is a national research performing organization dedicated to agri-food and forestry. We're working in different areas, including plant health and food safety. It belongs to the Ministry of Science and Innovation, and since 2021 is part of the Spanish National Research Council, which is one of the largest research institutions in Europe. This is just a flash to give you an overview of the research lines: 6 departments, 4 centers, and 3 technical units. Well, due to our linguistic and cultural traditional link with most of the Latin American countries, INEA FESIC is in a good position to try to be a nexus between Europe and Latin America in this scope. One example of this is the Ibero-American National Agricultural Research Institutes Networks, INEA's de Iberoamérica. This is a partnership is a collaborative initiative between research performing organizations homologous to INEA in 19 countries in Latin America, together with Spain and Portugal. The main aim is to promote the technological development of the member countries' agri-food systems based on collaboration, knowledge sharing, joint initiatives, and capacity building. You can see here an overview of the 23 members. In most of the cases, there are institutes dedicated together to agri-food and forestry. In some cases, there are separate entities, and there are also, in any case, ministries which is directly taking part in the consortium. The partners are meeting from the very beginning physically annually, with exception in the last years after pandemic. But they will meet again this year. From INEA PSIC, in collaboration with EUPHRESCO III, we are proposing the topic for this meeting on plant health, and it will be probably in Montevideo, Uruguay, in November. You can see here some pictures from the last meetings and field visits. Well, I would like to mention Fontagro, because it's not mixed, but closely related with the INEA's network. Okay? Fontagro stands for Regional Fund for Agricultural Technology. It's a co-funding mechanism. It's sponsored by the Inter-American Development Bank and the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, 15 members, but partnership with many stakeholders and countries, and it's moving over 100 million euros. This is important because while the Ibero-American INEA's network is not managing own funds, I mean, they can't fund directly anything, Fontagro, it's a funder and it's a fundraiser. Quickly, you can see here an overview of the currently aligned projects. And now, there's another initiative that I would like to talk to you, this Interconnecta. Interconnecta is a capacity building program from the Spanish Agency for International Development Cooperation. It's a program for knowledge transfer and exchange between Spain and Latin American countries. It's working on biannual programs, and as you can see there, the current program has a core topic with aspects related to plant health, such as environment, plant protection. There are a number of trainings associated here, conducted by INEA, and it's co-founded by CSIC. Well, here, to give you a wider view, apart from the INEA's network of the region, I wanted to just put some examples of regional and sub-regional networks, partnerships, and organizations of potential interest. We don't have time, but for instance, ICA is already involved in some of the previous initiatives. With contrast to the Southern Cone, there's Procisur and COSABE with potential interest, and there are also CAFSA, which is only working on the Caribbean region. In the same way, also a flash slide just to give you an overview on some international organizations, some of them well-known and indeed represented here today, directly working on plant health, and some of them working on cross-cutting aspects. And in the down part as well, there are examples of entities that even are not working specifically on agri-food and plant health. It could be useful also for cross-cutting issues. Well, to conclude, taking home messages. Plant health is a global challenge. Research and innovation is essential. With concerns to the Latin American and the Caribbean region, on one hand, it is extremely vulnerable to plant health risks, and on the other hand, it's a big player in this global responsibility to face the plant health issues. Then, global research coordination is needed. Foster inter- and intra-regional collaboration is needed as well. And in this context, regional networks could be a good starting point. That's all from my side. My apologies for the hurries, and thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you for the very nice talk. The final speaker of this session is Dr. Tobin Robinson, who will introduce actually a very nice example of plant health activities, the EU campaign Plant Health for Life. Dr. Tobin Robinson is currently head of EFSA's Environmental, Plants and Ecotoxicology Unit, the main tasks of which are providing scientific advice on the risks posed by plant pests and diseases to the health of plants, plant products and biodiversity in the EU, and ensures the provision of scientific advice on possible environmental risks related to the use of pesticides. He has been working for EFSA for over 18 years in a variety of posts, including leading the unit coordinating EFSA's scientific committee and emerging risk activities and crisis response, and a period as acting head of science strategy department. I invite Dr. Robinson to come and introduce us to the Plant Health for Life campaign. This is to go to the next slide, and this is to go back.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, and thank you to the organisers of this symposium for the opportunity to present to you some work being carried out by us in the area of plant health. I'm particularly happy that the stars have aligned on this auspicious day for us also to be able to announce the launch of the second year of activity in this particular area, which coincides very nicely with all the activities ongoing in plant health today. So what I want to talk to you about is a communication activity, and we've heard, particularly from our first two speakers today, very clear emphasis on the importance of plant health to life on our planet. You can't get much bigger than that importance, I don't think, and particularly and egotistically to humans as well. The work I'll be presenting, in fact, comes from a mandate from the Commission, the first one that EFSA has received for a communication campaign, so unique in that aspect, and stimulated very much by discussions in the COFs, whereby it was noted that it was felt that European citizens are rather unaware of the importance of plant health, and particularly unaware of the impact it has on their well-being of citizens, and therefore they are not particularly bothered by plant health. The aim of this campaign is indeed to change that. It's an activity which is we are funding over 3 years. As I say, we're just today starting our second year on this campaign. Funded 100% by EFSA. We have a centralized contractor who helps us with this. But particularly I want to emphasize that this contractor, in fact, subcontracts down to public relations agencies within each of the participating countries to produce a tailor-made product that suits the needs and priorities within each of the participating countries. So we are really doing our best to make sure that the messages that we want to deliver on plant health are delivered in a way that is useful and understandable in the local areas. So that's what we're intending to do with our project. What we have in our second year, starting today, is a slight change of emphasis. In particular, we are targeting of this next year 3 particular audiences. And we've chosen these 3 audiences for a variety of reasons. But firstly, we feel they have risky behaviors. Secondly, they have an integral interest in the issue of plant health, and so we feel that they are in some way a receptive audience to the messages that we have. And thirdly, they have, we feel they are in fact potentially good ambassadors to spread the messages within their own local communities as well. So the 3 target groups that we've identified are firstly the curious traveller, and we've heard already today the importance and the potential role of travellers in spreading plant diseases, bringing back plants, seeds, plant products from abroad back to their home countries. We know a potentially risky behaviour. Second group is the home gardener and the hobby farmer, and here again we've heard mentioned already today the potential role of buying online can have in introducing pests and diseases into countries. And then the final group that we've identified that we're interested in communicating with is the conscientious young parent. because not only are they potentially interested in the subject, but they are a very useful educator of the next generation. And we are very much looking to the future to ensure that we build and maintain an interest and awareness and concern about this subject. So this year, quite a number of key messages we want to pass, but we have a few of the principal ones on the screen. So firstly, keeping plants healthy protects yourself, your community, and the environment. Then, risks to plant health impact our life. It's a message we've heard very consistently this afternoon. Plant pests and diseases can affect how much food is available, so food security, and can lead to economic, social, and environmental losses. And all of those aspects we've seen very clearly in what happened or is happening with Xylella in the south of Italy. So this means we are telling our audience to travel responsibly, to shop responsibly, and to talk about plant health with your children. What we want to do in our second year of this particular campaign is to trigger critical thinking in our audiences, to get them engaged in the subject of plant health. Last year, which was our first year of operation, we had 12 participating countries. When we talk about participating countries, it's a project, we're a European agency, so it's a project focused on Europe, so the member states, and also candidate countries as well. So 12 countries last year. This year, very happy to announce that we have 22 participating countries. Today is the date when we launched this, our second year officially. In the individual countries, the launch date may be slightly different, adjusted to their own agendas, but that's all very good. It makes sense, I'm sure. So last year, we were using a number of different media to share our message. In particular, we were using what's called out-of-home advertising. So this is things like videos and posters in squares and streets, and particularly at airports. We're focusing on travellers, of course. But not only that, we're using social media and influencers a lot, digital advertising, more classical media too. And one particular means of communication I find very attractive for this issue is we had a very successful collaboration with Brussels Airlines, and on their long-haul flights they were using our video information on the video screens within the airplane. So people were subjected to our information for 30 seconds during their flights, flying to and flying back from countries outside of the EU. We had quite a lot of outreach with our campaign. So with the out-of-home advertising, we reckon we had 16 million contacts. We talk about contacts, we can't really talk about individual people. That information is a bit harder to gather, but we reckon information was seen 16 million times. And by the use of media, we reckon that we touched more than 70 million contacts. So that's in our first year of operation. Of course, our ambitions are even greater for in our second and third years. But just to show that we are having, we feel, quite some reach into the European population. So this is very encouraging for us. And we have a video. The video is actually available on our website, not surprisingly. It is available with commentary in all European languages and subtitles in all European languages as well. I encourage you to download it, use it, share it. A very simple method of campaign, of communication, and we have many more available as well. So, as I say, we're launching our second year of campaign today, and thanks again for the symposium organisers for giving this room to announce this. As I said before, the campaign is tailored to the needs of those participating countries, so we make sure that, of course, the language is appropriate, and the timing and the events and so forth meet very much the national needs to have the maximum impact. This year, not only are we going to use the advertising means, the communication means that I previously mentioned, but also we will add to this year another dimension, bringing more personal contact with the citizens that we want to contact too. So going to fairs and exhibitions, to events, greater use of gadgets, people love gadgets, and activities in schools as well. Again, we want to contact and engage with the younger population in Europe. Talking of gadgets, we have our mascot, Pesty, you see on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. I was hoping to have one with me today, but they are in such demand that I couldn't get hold of one in time to bring with me. But if you go to any of the events being organised around Europe over this coming year, you should be able to pick one up yourselves if you want. And, well, really to finish, I really want to address you in the room and other participants online. You can get involved. You can check out our campaign website. There we have ready-to-use material in all of the EU languages, so you can pick stuff up there and use it however you want and adapt it as well. Please share the campaign video, the posts, the messages that we have through your channels to give us greater outreach, and of course participate in the events that are being organised in your country. Really happy to have any feedback from you. Please send it through the email that we have on screen here, so press@efsa.europa.eu. I said we have 22 countries participating this year. That's not all of the member states and candidate countries, so some of you are missing. If you would like to participate, please contact us. We'll do our best to integrate you within this year, and if not this year, for sure in our third year next year as well. And just to finish, we have a poster out there, which if you're interested in EFSA's work in plant health, and I'm sure you are, we have a summary of all of the outputs and the products that we have in the area of plant health that I hope you'll find both interesting and useful for your work. And that's it. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank again the speakers for their interesting talks and open the floor now to questions. Raise your hand when you have a question, and I hope I can see it with the bright lights in my face. And we will come to you with a microphone. I have two lovely assistants on the left and on the right side, Philippe and Valérie, who you can call. Unfortunately, for online participants, it is not possible to ask questions to the speakers at the moment. If you have any questions for the speakers, you can send them an email directly, I guess, since all the contact details of the speakers can be found in the program booklet. We thank you again for your understanding. And normally, if everything goes fine, you can also direct questions to Dr. Oronje online. So before stating your question, maybe also say to which speaker you want to direct your question. Thank you. Not all at once.
Thank you very much, Louise Byrne, Chief Plant Health Officer for Ireland. Really enjoyed the presentations. The challenge is enormous. Cooperation and collaboration is key. I'd like to ask Mr. Robinson about the role of citizens in the Plant Health Challenge. And I really welcome the Plant Health for Life campaign. I think that's a wonderful initiative. But for me, this was the first initiative on plant health. I'm looking forward to further initiatives, and I'd like to ask your views on the role of citizens in protecting plant health, because it seems to me that the challenge is so enormous unless we engage citizens in helping us identify pests that we're really going to struggle. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Well, we certainly share your concern and interest in involving citizens into the area of plant health. So firstly, they need, education is maybe not the best word, but awareness of the importance of plant health, and that from our own social research that EFSA has carried out a few years ago, we see clearly that there's a very large lack of awareness, even amongst those groups who have an interest in plants. So gardeners in particular are not particularly aware, certainly, of the risks coming from bringing back from holiday a few grains of a very interesting flower that they've seen. It's something, if you speak to gardener, and I myself, I'm a very enthusiastic gardener, I have to say, speaking to other gardeners, and particularly of maybe of the older generation, this is one of the benefits of going on holiday, is to go and get yourself some new and exciting plants. I think it's a very understandable behavior, but we need to bring in the information that this is actually a risky behavior, and its impact is not just limited to what happens in an individual's garden, but it is immediately in the environment around that, and impacts on people's livelihood and on the environment. If you look at the landscape impact of Xylella in the south of Italy, the landscape is devastated. And with that, we have not only people's livelihoods, but also ways of life, and village communities are all being destroyed by just one disease, just one. And we could imagine a similar effect to be had on many other examples that we know are knocking at the door of Europe and just waiting for that opportunity to come in and then to implant themselves in particular susceptible crops. So super important. We should not hesitate in communicating in a way that people will understand. Always difficult for scientists, I know. We love to communicate to other scientists. But to communicate to citizens does require, I think, a particular skill set and training. And I think that we need to invest in that for sure to protect plant health, which is of such importance.
Maybe I'm closest.
Thank you. My name is Claudius Marondeze from Euroseeds. My question goes to Kabi. So it's more also in line with what has been asked recently. But considering that in Africa, also in other parts of the world, informal sectors are quite rampant. So my question is, how is it also being done in Africa to provide this awareness on the spread of pests through these informal sectors where seeds are not tested, but they can move across borders? Thank you.
Should I take that?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, Claudia, for that question. Indeed, as you mentioned, the informal sector is quite rampant. And with the borders, you have families sometimes living across the country, let's say Uganda and Kenya. They exchange seeds, small quantities and also big quantity. And this is a big challenge. And that's why we continue to build capacity, especially in the border points, but also providing harmonization. So what we mean by harmonization is identifying risks that are spread across more borders, so regional approaches to risk analysis, for instance, and therefore risk communication. But that is still a very big gap in terms of improving plant health through reduce of risks, especially when we don't have borders. And I think the theme of today's talk is about plant health without borders, and hearing what EFSA is doing about awareness, especially on the lower points. It's very important. It's something that we need to do much more, but still a big challenge to us in Africa. Yeah.
Thank you for this. Any other questions? We can take one final one. In the back.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Carola Schorn from Germany. I'm the Chief Health Officer and work in the Federal Ministry for Agriculture and Food. And I would like to put a question to all four of the podium. So we have heard today how much important it is to raise awareness for the public and for hobby gardeners as well as kids and parents. But what would you think about also an initiative with a view to the future for the next generation looking for a job? So I think the challenges we have at the moment is to find interested and enthusiastic young people taking a profession in the field of plant health. Would that be a field where you, with your experience, can have also an input to that, to make young people aware that this is quite a field of future profession, and that it's fun also to work in the plant health area, probably with a One Health initiative, but also to have an eye on the more cooperative approach up to pest risk assessment, diagnostic methods. So what is your experience and your expectations on that? Thank you.
Maybe I give the word first to Dr. Baldissera Giovani.
Yeah, I was just last week in Australia, and there they have just initiated a training center for biosecurity. And the idea behind is to train the next generation of biosecurity experts. They will provide, I think, 17 PhD fellowships and postdocs opportunities. And it's a way to attract people. So I think structuring, it's a way to give visibility, but for me, the main point is not just to attract people, but to keep the people once they are there. And the only way to keep people is to build a community where we cherish the young people, where we show to them that they are valued and there are opportunities. And if we don't do that, they will just go somewhere else where there are opportunities and when there is money and a job for them. So it's a dual approach, bringing them in and keeping them in.
Well, thank you very much for the question. I don't have an extended answer for that, but well, we are working from the perspective of the research coordination. I think that what we can do is to try to foster the knowledge transfer. I mean, when there's a global challenge, there's work to do there. That is clear. But thinking in the young people employment, it is true that sometimes this is not aligned. But I think in this sense, the knowledge transfer is quite important because it can have direct impact of the employment opportunities for the people who is working on research, and not only on research, also in the industrial sector in other cross-cutting aspects. So yeah, I think that would be a good point and a part of our homework to take home message.
Thank you. So I definitely agree with the idea of starting them young. I remember when I was at school, God, when my father used to say that, I would just start going to sleep immediately. But anyway, when I was at school, we used to have a school garden, which was mostly to do with vegetables and fruit. And so from a very young age, we got used to putting our hands into the soil, getting our hands dirty, and to understanding that these things actually, they don't come in plastic packets on supermarket shelves. That's not plants, you know. And that there is actually a very important thing that happens before they come to us through the supermarket. And I think it's very, very helpful to create that awareness. But this is much bigger than just plant health. I would say we could take the same principle across the whole of the food sector, in that today we have quite a strange relationship, particularly in Europe and America, with our food, in that there's quite a dissociation between what people have on their plate and in their mouth, and an actual understanding of everything that's happened to actually put it there. And it would be good to bring back that awareness to people, because this is only a recent phenomenon that we have lost this as a civilization. So it would be good to bring back that awareness, but also good to ensure that food production gets the real monetary value that it deserves, and it shouldn't, from an economic point of view, be taken for granted. It provides a lot of jobs, and it provides a really basic ingredient of the things that we need for life. So I think there should be an effort to emphasize the real fundamental value of these activities to our everyday lives. And I think that would help a lot with engagement.
Yeah, this also allow me to add, I think capacity building is something that I'm very passionate about, because it's what will ensure, generational cross-pollination of capacity in phytosanitary and beyond. So as CABI, we have been involved in development of Center of Phytosanitary Excellence. This was supported by STDF, and also IPPC was part of that. And we currently now reviewing, is the curriculum aligned to the current needs? And this COPE has been so important in capacity building of over 4,000 phytosanitary experts in Africa. That said, I know IPPC is also quite keen through the capacity development initiative that they are having. And one of the projects I would like to highlight here is the APP that is building capacity in Africa, and I think targeting over 50 countries. And this is quite something that will also ensure that we have capacity beyond just now. We also participate in capacity building at universities, having the student get instructed by having talks about phytosanitary. Currently at the meeting I'm attending in Botswana, USDA together with the University of Mississippi is developing capacity of a number of senior fellows in SPS. So there's a number of things that are going on to ensure the next generation of experts, phytosanitary and even sanitary. So I think it's important that we continue with this kind of momentum to enhance the knowledge of the generation now and the future. So thank you.
Let's thank again our 4 speakers and round of applause, yeah. And I would invite you to go back to the front row. So we can go to the next part. And maybe briefly to mention, with the third question asked, there will be a testimony in the next section that also kind of answers a part of your question. So it's time to listen to those testimonies from the researchers, the experiences, maybe I should go to the next slide, yeah. The experiences of researchers highlight the need and benefits of international research collaboration, as research plays a key role in underpinning plant health policy and in developing scientific expertise and infrastructure in support of plant health and plant protecting efforts. After this section, there will be a coffee break and a knowledge forum, and therefore we decided not to foresee a Q&A over here, but that you can directly ask your questions at the coffee break. So the first speaker in this section is Dr. Tim Beliën. Dr. Tim Beliën is a research scientist in entomology at the Research Center for Fruit Growing, PC Fruit and PA, in Belgium. After obtaining his PhD in 2006, he became the head of the zoology department at PC Fruit in 2008. He has more than 15 years of experience in applied scientific research on integrated pest management by coordinating numerous research projects concerning entomology and crop protection in fruit growing. Mostly national and regional funding, but also international projects including EUPHRESCO. Tim Beliën has written over 350 publications and is also actively involved in international organizations like YOBC, for which he is the convener of the IPM working group focusing on palm fruit arthropods. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to talk today about food growing and more in particularly about pests which are threatening our food growing industry. And at PC Fruit Research Center, we are responsible for the development of crop protection schedules. And for that, it is very important that we have a good knowledge about the pests, of course, and more in particularly how we can use really new kind of data to anticipate on new pests which are threatening our food growing systems. So what is the problem? We all know climate change, we all know the internationalization, the global trade of goods, and with that we have the introduction and outbreaks of a lot of invasive pests that have, unfortunately, no local natural enemies. And that makes it very hard in the field to control these pests. The last 10 years, we have worked a lot on the first 2 pests that you see here in the photos, the nice photos of Drosophila suzuki, Asian fruit fly, and then the barn mite more with sting bug, Haliomorpha halis. And these are really a disaster for food growing in Europe. And now we are also seeing 2 other pests, among others, like the Japanese beetle, the Popillia, and also the plum weevil, which are at the border and which are some, for the Popillia, already inside Europe, threatening our food growing industry. So that means a lot of crop damages, losses, which undermine the production of healthy food. Now, how we can anticipate on that? There are some new trends on that, and one of the things that the world more and more builds on is data. Data are really a key to use it smartly for example, organizing survey strategies, and also optimize the timing when and where to look for specific monitoring actions. You can also use data for other things, but for this topic, it's really important, I think, that we use data to predict where a pest and when it will appear. That's important. You have to know which stage you have to look for. Is this eggs? Are the larvae? Are the adults active? For example, here you see some photos of the plum weevil. It's new for us. We don't know this. It's from the United States. And how can we anticipate as best as possible on possible introductions? That's the questions we ask ourselves. And we do that based on knowledge. And I try to explain in just 5 minutes how our strategy for that is. So knowledge, you can investigate a lot and keep it for yourself, but that's of course not efficient. What we do with the knowledge is we transfer them to big databases. The more data, the better. And therefore, from a lot of data, you need collaborative research, and you need to unravel the behavior of pests depending on parameters you can measure. And there is something that we can really measure good today, and that's the climate and the weather. And luckily for us, you can really good predict pests' behavior and pest development if you know the weather conditions. So if you know the relation between them, you can really say some really interesting things about when and where to monitor pests and how, in the next stadium, how to control them best. Let me explain that a little bit. So knowledge, what we mean is linking the development and the behavior of pests to weather and climate conditions. And that means finding mathematical relations between them. And we are lucky that pests like insects and mites, they follow really the weather conditions. So they are cold-blooded, so they have to follow the weather conditions. So when we can measure the weather and when we know the relation between weather and then I mean temperature, relative humidity, even daylight, all kind of weather parameters that you can measure. When we know the relation between these parameters and the development of pests, and you know the mathematical relation between them, you can start to use it. So parameters are like temperature-dependent development rates, specific stages, the first nymphs, the second nymphs, and so on. Also the physiological age of overwintering stages, the day length, sunrise, sunset, pre-oviposition timing, all these things you can unravel all these parameters for every pest. And the good thing is you don't have to do it all by yourself. You don't have to invent the hot water again and again. After all, we are all dealing with the same pests. Haliamorphahalis, disaster in Italian food growing. A lot of good, smart Italian people have done a lot of research on it. And they have published it, and they have contacted with us, and we use the data that they did find for our models to predict how the pest is developing in Belgium. So that is really, I think, very smart to collaborate on this way, and that is the strategy we follow now more and more, and the tools we have do allow it. We have now networks of weather stations all over Europe. In Belgium, very concentrated network of weather stations. Every professional food grower has his own weather station almost in Belgium. And they measure all the parameters we have to know. The actual data are sent to the cloud. The wireless cloud-based communication technology is really a lot of improvements the last 5 years. The databases are big enough to all analyze the data, and this is done by servers in the cloud, and based on the models which are running on the mathematical models, the relations, we can really make nice predictions on what the pests, how they do develop and where they will appear. And I call it a treasure of data, and it makes really much progress on how we deal with pests today. And this information is then sent to smartphones, to apps, which can be consulted anywhere, anytime by food growers, but also by officers who are doing monitoring surveys to know where are the biggest chances of peaks of adult activity or larvae activity or egg-laying activity. If the technology would have allowed me, I would also demonstrate the app that we developed at the PC Food Research Station, but unfortunately I cannot demonstrate it here with the technique that we have now. But be free to invite or to see the poster that we have in the hall, and to also go to the link that I have posted here to see how the app would work. I have a screenshot, fortunately, here inside the presentation. So here you see on the above page that we have the network of weather stations, and you see that it's all over Europe that we have collaborations. You can click on a weather station, and then you get one graph for the pest that you are interested in. You can select different pests, as you can see, and you get a prediction of how the development and dynamics are in the field. That was my short story for today. I thank you for your attention, and please, if you have any other questions, contact me in future. Thank you.
Thank you for this very interesting talk. Our next speaker is also from Belgium, also Belgian scientist, Dr. Kris De Jonghe. Since 2007, Kris De Jonghe is senior researcher at the Plant Science Unit of the Flanders Research Institute for Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, also called ILVO, where he is responsible for the laboratory of virology and flowing bacteria. Together with the CRAW, the lab is also National Reference Laboratory for Virology and for Bacteriology, also partner in the EURL consortium. He holds a PhD in Applied Biological Sciences from the University of Ghent and has ample experience in the international cooperation, including participation in and/or coordination of many projects. Flemish inter-university cooperation, ERANET projects, Horizon 2020, COST, EUPHRESCO, and so on. He is also a member of the APO panel on diagnostics in virology and phytoplasmology, and represents ILVO as a member of the network management group of EUPHRESCO. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Dear representatives of national governments, Europe, international organizations, and you colleagues, all working hard in plant health and support plant health policy. Today, I would like to start by, I would like to start thanking the organizers of this nice initiative to allow me to bring some testimonies from research, trying to demonstrate also the power of international collaboration. I would like to start doing this from an ILVO point of view within EUPHRESCO. And ILVO, together with the FPS in Belgium, were both partners since the start of the ERANET in 2006, since the first EUPHRESCO one. And shortly after, I was really enjoying the fact that I could participate already and enjoy the really unique synergism that research institutes and program owners, program makers were having within this network, all working hard together to do an effective transnational collaboration. Since then, ILVO has been partner, coordinator in dozens of transnational projects. And today, I would like to present 3 of them to you: IVNAT, Pronk, and Valor Heights. Valor Heights is also in Belgium known as VIRRISC and is about to start, but I organized them and I chose them because they represent really good examples of phytosanitary research collaboration among 3 goals: networking, harmonization data on priority topics, looking for scientific evidence in supporting PRAs, but also plant health policy, and facilitating access to important information. The first one, IVNAT, focuses on nucleic acid extraction, and more exactly on the quality control procedures. We are looking to standardize the quality control procedures for nucleic acid procedures, which are the basic of a lot of diagnostic tools, and this for the diagnosis of plant pests and diseases. In the national title, there's also real-time PCR, but in the transnational network, we take it broader to a lot of other downstream applications. It is a good example of a very large consortium, a large network, a collaborating consortium of 25 official partners, coming from 16 countries and an international organization, gathering 40 collaborating researchers. The focus is not on one pathogen, is not on one pest, but very broad, and also involves a lot of different matrices: plants, environmental samples, insects, nematodes, and so on. We try to start making an inventory first. An inventory, because we are a large consortium, we have a lot of information available, a lot of validated methods from the laboratories, but also a lot of information on quality procedures that are published in papers. So we divided the work in working groups and plenary sessions, and all of this is in the hands of a coordination team, both from ILVO, but also Agroscope. I should mention Olivier Schump and his team here, because it is a really large task to really structure this type of project in such a large network, harmonizing data, which are really enormous in amount. This was also complemented with some laboratory evaluation and analysis in preparation of a test performance study, which is still to be taking place. So we are organizing this year, and hopefully by the end of this year, this collaboration effort will result in guidelines that will help us to choose the correct or the most appropriate quality control procedures for nucleic acid extraction. Like I said in the beginning, a really important part of diagnostics. A second example is the project Pronk. The title of that project is Phytosanitary Risks of Newly Introduced Exotic Tuber Crops. And this project was initiated because a couple of years ago, we came across a number of outbreaks, a number of emerging pathogens that were popping up here in Europe because of the fact that we were introducing more and more exotic tuber crops that were not grown, did not used to be grown locally. Examples are sweet potato, yacon, uloko, but also Mashua and even less known tubers, which are grown more and more in our area. We started the project by assessing the virome, the viruses that were present in the vegetatively propagated tuber material, and this resulted in a large list of known viruses, but also poorly characterized viruses and novel viruses into those crops, into those tubers, that were posing a risk. So assessing the phytosanitary status is one thing, but assessing the phytosanitary risks became very difficult because for quite a few of these viruses, we didn't even know what the risks were. So this resulted also in a lot of data sharing initiatives, particularly organized around these crops. For example, yacon, ulluco, and sweet potato, which I mentioned already, but also ad hoc collaborations specifically focusing on biological characterization. On the right-hand side of this slide, you can see that this is also a collaborative effort between 7 European partners. And that brings me to the last example, which I would like to bring to you, which is about to start, and a collaboration nationally between the EU Liège, and Sebastian is here in this room, and ILVO, plus 12 other transnational partners. Here, we would like to go further, and as the example, the previous example indicated that it is sometimes really difficult to have enough information, enough data to complete a good and complete risk assessment. Here we will map ongoing and finished HTS screenings and data sharing initiatives. And from those data, we would like to standardize the prioritization criteria to identify within these data sets the organisms of concern. One has already been identified, and I put that example on the left-hand side. That is tomato fruit blotch virus, which also popped up in Belgium 2 years ago, and for which already a collaborative consortium has been constructed under the coordination of our Italian colleagues. Further, when these organisms of concern have been identified, we would like to take it further and perform in-depth characterization, testing and optimizing a framework for biological characterization within this project. We would like also to make use of a prediction tool, for instance, that is being developed in another project, GenoPredict, also an initiative and a collaboration between EU Liège and ILVO, but also with veterinary science and medical science. So One Health concept, where we'd like to have this prediction tool available to predict some biological features from the genomic data that we find in HTS output data. And I would like to conclude that this is not everything. We need to go further. And there is, of course, a lot of exciting potential future collaboration possible. And we have, in the meantime, submitted new proposals. For instance, the APIS project that would like to develop an analytical phytosanitary information system building on digital data, but also we may not forget that also economic information is important. And again, we would like to work together with Sebastian and his team on Vircoin and checking out how this economic information would fit in with the biological risk assessment analysis that we have already done in previous collaborations. That brings me to an end. So we will continue working together, support plant health, and this through national, regional, but also global collaboration. And I've also included the EUPHRESCO III logo, for which I think Baldissera will inform you later on this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Maybe just as a side note, we're running a little bit behind schedule, but due to unforeseen circumstances, a speaker for after the break will not be able to present. So like that, we will end up on time in schedule normally. That leads me to introducing our next speaker, which is Dr. Perrine Portier. After a PhD in microbial ecology in Lyon, France, Perrine Portier was hired at INRAE Angers, first to develop molecular biology tools for plant pathogenic bacteria detection on crops, and then to manage the French collection for plant-associated bacteria. This collection plays a critical role for the quality of research programs for the international scientific community in plant health by providing biological material of high quality to the researchers all over the world needing them. Managing the collection, she became an expert in the diversity of these plant pathogens. The floor is yours.
Thank you for this introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Today I will talk about one of my experience in international collaboration, and I will talk mostly about the MALD-ID project, which dealt with the evaluation of the MALDI-TOF technology for plant pathogenic bacteria identification. The pathogen identification is, of course, a crucial question in plant health because, as you know, correct pest identification leads to the use of the correct countermeasures, and that in turn permit to efficiently protect plants, well, at least to have the best protection as possible. What is a good identification method? This should be cheap, fast, easy to implement, and of course accurate. And MALDI-TOF is promising because it promises like identification in less than 30 minutes, which is really fast, and it's already widely used in human health for pathogen identification. So the question is this applicable to plant health? How does it work? So the MALDI-TOF stands for Matrix-Assisted Laser Desorption Ionization Time of Flight. Practically, you take your bacteria, you put it in a chemical matrix, you put some laser beam on it, and it will vaporize all the proteins inside. And this happens in hard vacuum, and the proteins will fly over, will be vaporized, and then will go down back at the end. And the heavier they are, the faster they will fall down, so that in the end you can have a mass spectrum. And if you take this mass spectrum, you can compare it to the database of the other reference spectra, and that gives you an identification. But the quality and accuracy of the identification depends on the quality and accuracy of the database. And it was tested for plant pathogenic bacteria, and it works, it's functional, but as there had been no coordinated effort yet, there is no general database available. So everybody is scrapping things to have at least a bit of reference database. And there was no general evaluation of the method. That's when we came up here, because inside the EUPHRESCO network, they asked us to evaluate this method. So what's the project objectives? They were to first build the reference database, and then to evaluate the accuracy of the method. To do that, we needed expertise in MALDI-TOF handling and result analysis, of course, but also access to MALDI-TOF apparatus. We needed, and that was critical, a strain collection, which was diverse, well characterized, relevant for plant pathology, and not limited to one or two strains, but to a lot of strains. We also needed expertise to establish the collection, expertise in plant pathology to know what is relevant, and expertise in taxonomy and diversity of these plant pathogenic bacteria. This can be achieved through the diversity of the uses of the different methods and resources, the diversity of the expertise, and the diversity of the point of view. So we were 4 different partners, so it's a small project, and I was the coordinator of it. So partners from Switzerland, Germany, Netherlands, and France. And we had a good synergy between the partners, which ensured the success of the project because we had all expertise in our different domains, and my expertise it's in diversity, and others were in Malditov, and other in plant pathology, and so on. But the second point, which was critical in our success, was the access to the biological resources. And that's the force of the collection I run, actually, because the collection is rich of more than 7,000 strains, which are strategic resources for plant health. And I must say that this collection in itself is the result of long-term ongoing international collaborations, because the bacteria we hold are from the entire world, entire range of crops, and we have representatives from the whole diversity of known plant pathogenic bacteria. And this ensured the success of the project. So what were the outcomes? So first, scientific results, of course. So we were able to determine the accuracy of the methods, in which limits it was really valuable, and it appeared to be really useful for screening, orienting, identification. And last year I've been discussing with an Australian colleague saying that it was really useful in the field because to have fast identification. The project outcomes also were resources for the scientific community, because the reference spectra we obtained during this project for 8 different bacterial genus relevant for plant health are now fully available. And you can find them on the internet, you can download them, load that into your own machine and use that at the start of the reference database for your analysis. Of course, it's not complete, and we have to continue the work. Maybe not me, but other scientists to build on that. And to facilitate that, a NIPO standard is being written in the moment. It will be published, we hope, in the near future. And these resources can act for future projects, for other scientists to take them and to build up on that, but also to support the proposal for all the project. For instance, this winter, we deposited the Maldibank proposal, and this Maldibank was proposed by the MaryLucy infrastructure. I don't know if you know that, but the microbial resource infrastructure gathering collections in Europe. And that's another kind of international collaboration which makes our job easier, actually. And the other outcomes is, of course, the scientific cooperation at the international level. This permitted to strengthen the links between the partners. Some links were already existing, but not all. And this is critical for plant pathology, for efficient research, because you already know that plant pests know no borders. So we need to be able to better live with the plant pests, to better have food, even if they are there. We need a diversity of point of view, diversity of uses, diversity of experience with that, diversity of education, diversity also of farming process to understand what works and what doesn't work. And that is necessary for having a broad view. It's necessary to better understand plant-pest relationships, and it's necessary in the end to have better plant protection and crop protection. Thank you. And I will conclude by saying that this project was possible because of several kinds of international collaboration. First, of the scientists gathered there. Second, of the biological resource gathered in the collection and onto the different partners' labs. So a collection is a really precious tool because it's like snapshots of the diversity at some time points. And I must say also that there is other international processes at play here, because if I earned a PhD in microbial ecology, it's because one day I was an Erasmus student outside my country, studying abroad, and that's also really relevant for the rest, and a really nice experience I had. And thank you for your attention.
Last but certainly not least in this section, we will listen to Dr. Anna Maria Donghia. She is the Principal Scientific Administrator at Sciambari in Italy. Dr. Donghia is the head of the Knowledge Unit on Precision Crop Protection. She is a plant pathologist with more than 35 years of experience in education, research and international collaboration in plant health. She is the coordinator of the International Sciam Master Program in Integrated Pest Management and the Advanced Specialized Course in Precision Agriculture for the Mediterranean region. Dr. Donghia is author and co-author of more than 250 scientific articles published in international scientific peer-reviewed journals or presented at international conferences. She represents her organization in the governing board and in the network management group of EUPHRESCO and in EUPHRESCO III as work package leader, champion for the Mediterranean region and member of the executive committee. The floor is yours.
So good afternoon, and I thank the Belgian Presidency and, of course, the Belgian Plant Health friends for this opportunity, for Sciam, my organization. And I try to go soon to the just presentation of my speech is on capacity building plant health to strengthen research in the Mediterranean region. Why the Mediterranean region? Because my organization, Sciam, is an intergovernmental organization of 13 member countries in the Mediterranean. And the headquarters are in Paris, but we have 4 operational institutes. My institute is in Bari, in Italy. And the main goal is to promote sustainable agriculture. And these are the thematic areas which are not covering only plant health, but plant health is one of the pillars of the 2025 agenda of Sciam. And what is important is the peculiarity, let's say, of this organization is the combination of these 3 tools. So the higher education and applied scientific research and international cooperation. So it's very important to train, to do research, but also to provide possibilities, infrastructure, equipments, environment for research. And of course, no need to say that the Mediterranean region, as all regions globally, are unfortunately compromised by pests and diseases. And this is, of course, with a serious consequence for rural population. And Sciambari has more than 35 years of experience in plant health. Let's say I started the plant health in the Sciambari, so I'm old for this reason, and implementing and supporting international research initiatives in the region, but also in neighboring countries. And main goal is to develop and transfer advanced diagnostic methods and tools to also carry out characterization, epidemiological studies, and also surveillance and modeling of pests and diseases, mainly priorities, those ones that are unfortunately, impacting seriously in the region. Now, to develop an expertise in plant health and in order to build a research area in this region, we need, firstly, and we speak before about the need of education. And this institute, since 1985, has trained about 4,000 former students in plant health through master of science, advanced specialized courses, and also through PhD programs in collaboration with Italian foreign universities, and with the aim to prepare a young generation of scientists toward professional research and academic careers in plant health. And so students in the Master of Science program, which is a 2-year program, they, of course, start research. So I should not say that they do research, but they gain knowledge and practical skills in research methods and techniques and develop critical analytical skills. This is just to give you some figures on master students, so the 2 years program. We have approximately, in the last 20 years, I didn't go back too much further, so 400 students obtain a Master of Science degree in the last 20 years with the scholarships granted by Siam Bari, and most of them as countries of origin are from Maghreb countries, I should say, and Near and Middle Eastern countries, and much less from the Balkans, EU, and other countries. As a master of students, always, this is just an idea of the thematic areas, primarily in plant pathology and entomology, and as a research topics, primarily diagnosis and control. I should say, because in the last 15 years, we also started, let's say, the use of a lot of smart technologies in plant health, all in these topics. We try always, of course, to have the help of technology in order to also to make for students, for youngs, especially generation, more fun and more efficient their approach. And they do, they do an original research usually on topics that are of interest for the Mediterranean region, but also for interest for their own country. And this is just an idea of the thesis they carry out, and most of them are also carried out in their own country, and also with the difficulties, I should say, but we try always to support their work in their country as first. The best student can complete the research through a PhD program, so we also support in a certain way the continuation of their research in other additional 3 years, mainly with Italian universities. And here we have some figures on PhD students that continued the training in the PhD programs. And so we have 65 in the last 20 years. And again, of course, priority from Maghreb countries and Near and Middle Eastern countries. And as you can see, the average as also student gender is almost equal. And this is a good achievement. As thematic areas, I should say that for PhD, primarily plant pathology, and on research topics, diagnosis, control, but also characterization, because it's mostly focusing on basic research. And here we have just some idea of a publication in different peer-reviewed journals of our Master of Science and PhD students on different topics, so on going, of course, also not only as topics, as thematic areas, but also as pests and diseases. And here we have also an idea of the publications, mainly on plant pathology and entomology, but very important to say that they publish about almost, 300 scientific works, but we can count an average of 0.5 publication per Master of Science student and 1.5 for PhD student. Of course, these students, once they are trained, they're very well trained, but they have to go back and they have to work in their environment. So in this sense, importance is the combination of the third tool, which is international cooperation. And so they have to rely on this cooperation in order to build, of course, not only capacities in education, but also in facilities and equipments. This is just a project on new action to support the phytosanitary sector in Bosnia and Herzegovina for this harmonization with the EU standards. So apart, as I say, training, they have to, of course, be equipped with infrastructures and equipments institution, of course, they do research. Just a very important focus is also on the former trainees network, which is the Siam community of students, former students, and here we have just some figures of their, let's say, employment in research sector in the country. So 170 out of 400 master's graduates, they are employed in their own country in research, mostly in the public sector. And so The education program enabled the development of plant health research capacity for the benefit of a national research institution, but to build a plant health research area in the Mediterranean region is essential not only to strengthen research capacity, but also to develop collaboration at the national and regional levels. And I want to conclude with this initiative, which is the Plant Health Research Priorities for the Mediterranean region. It was a SIAM Bari EUPHRESCO launched in 2021 initiative and was the first research coordination initiative in the region to promote transnational collaboration in plant health. And a companion was firstly issued on priority pests and on the needs of infrastructure and capacity in the region, and a supplement was in 2022 issued to update the list of priority pests and also to promote, to identify research priorities. And the three first projects as topics that were launched in the 2022-2024 EUPHRESCO round were just promoted in this initiative. And so that some countries, mainly from North Africa and Near East, they were able to join this transnational collaboration. Thank you.
Time for a break. So thank you again for all these very interesting testimonies. We will now have a coffee break during which a knowledge forum is organized. While you are enjoying your coffee, we invite you to walk around and have a look at the posters presenting activities of stakeholders involved in plant health. Like I said, we're running a bit behind schedule, but since one speaker will not speak in the next section, I would say we shift the time frame a bit and meet each other back here at around 5:15. So also for online people following, we will be back at 5:15. Thank you. I would like to urge everybody to take their seats again, also for the people online, so we can start with the last part of this afternoon. Thank you. So welcome back, everybody, for the final part of the talks, where future challenges and ways to tackle these challenges will be highlighted. In this context, the EU Horizon Europe project EUPHRESCO III will be presented. And at the end of this section, there will again be a 10-minute Q&A. Our first speaker in this section is Dr. Baldissera Giovani, who I think at this point needs no further introduction anymore. So I leave the floor to you to introduce EUPHRESCO III to everybody.
Okay, so I previously presented the past of EUPHRESCO, and I'm now delighted to present the immediate present and hopefully the future. So EUPHRESCO III is a project that will allow us to explore how to move from European to global phytosanitary research coordination. So the success of EUPHRESCO as mainly a European initiative for plant health research coordination set the floor for discussions on initiatives to build similar networks for other regions of the world and for global phytosanitary research coordination. In 2019, at the meeting of the agriculture chief scientists of the G20, the importance to strengthen research collaboration and participating in joint funding networks such as EUPHRESCO was highlighted. In 2020, a policy opinion was published in Nature Plants, co-authored by a number of leading organizations in the plant health field. And in that opinion, a call for a global network for phytosanitary research coordination was launched. The year after, the contracting parties of the International Plant Protection Convention endorsed the strategic framework for the IPPC for the period 2020-2030. And in that strategic framework, there is one of the objectives that is about global phytosanitary research coordination and establishing a structure by 2030. So EUPHRESCO was sometimes participating in these discussions, sometimes watching the discussions from the outside, and all this was happening while EUPHRESCO was changing and evolving. So I presented already in the previous presentation what has been the geographical change of EUPHRESCO. That geographical change has been associated to a change in terms of the members, and we have recently included in the network organizations from academia. It is extremely important to strengthen the links with universities. We reinforce the collaboration with industry, and we also included some international networks. And so it was important for the EUPHRESCO members to reflect on the future of plant health research coordination and to reflect on the future of EUPHRESCO. What are the needs of the future and how EUPHRESCO can serve its clients. And so a working group was established within EUPHRESCO to work on the strategic development of the network. And the working group came up with 3 options for the development of the network. The option number 1 was for EUPHRESCO to develop into a global network through the inclusion of new members from all over the world. The second option was for EUPHRESCO to remain a European-focused network, but to provide a model for the development of similar networks in other regions of the world. And EUPHRESCO in that case will provide not only the model, but also the glue for linking the different networks. And then there was a third option, which is a blend of the previous 2, which is for EUPHRESCO to develop into an international network with a regional prioritization system. And the 3 options were presented to EUPHRESCO members who voted for exploring the development of EUPHRESCO through option number 3. And this is what we have been trying to do since the decision of the EUPHRESCO Governing Board. So, obviously, if you want to develop a network internationally, you have to engage with the international community, which means that there was a need to open for discussions with organizations outside the EUPHRESCO members. And a workshop was organized in 2022 alongside the International Conference for Plant Health in London. The workshop was about shaping global plant health research coordination, and the organizations that you see on the slide were invited to participate. So why we invited these organizations and initiatives? Well, first of all, because they were somehow already collaborating with EUPHRESCO, so we know each other, but also because together these initiatives, these networks, allow to cover a large number of countries all over the world. And so they are perfectly placed to discuss how to shape a global network for plant health research coordination. During the workshop, the participants discussed the missions of the future global network, the models, the governance, the resources, and how to kick off the collaboration. And the workshop participants agreed that a network for global plant health research coordination was a good idea, and there was a willingness to work together on developing such a global network. They suggested that the purpose of the global network is to create a platform to show that the plant health community is united. Research coordination is a matchmaker. The participants also supported the idea to have a global network with a regional prioritization system. So they confirmed the preferences of EUPHRESCO members. It was also agreed to start the work small, so with the organizations around the table, but it was also indicated that it was important to open to other organizations in the future. And among the organizations that were identified, there were the IOBC, the IPPC, IPERG, UFRO, WETO. And last but not least, the participants agreed that funding was needed to support the work of the group and to serve as a glue money. So when I came back to to my office, I try to translate these nice discussions into practice. And we were lucky enough to identify a call in the Horizon Europe Framework Program that will support the development of networks for alignment of research activities and coordination of research and policy making activities. And so we applied to that call, and we were lucky enough to be positively evaluated and to receive funding. And this is how EUPHRESCO III was initiated. So EUPHRESCO III is a blend of EUPHRESCO and the London Group. And EUPHRESCO III has been structured following the wishes of EUPHRESCO members and of the London Group, which means that EUPHRESCO III will try to build a global network for phytosanitary research coordination. And for this, we have divided the globe in different regions. And for each region, we have identified one or a couple of champions. And the champions will be in charge of the technical and scientific coordination within their area of expertise. Now, what's important to say is that this is just a starting point. The regions may change, and the EUPHRESCO III will give the opportunity to refine the initial model. The work of the regional champions and of the central coordination will be supported by organizations that are not partners of the project, but that will play a role as advisors. The idea to have these organizations in the advisory board is that we don't know them very well and they don't know us. So being advisor of the project is an opportunity for them to know what we are doing, to know each other, for eventually to take a more proactive role in the future. And amongst the organizations that we have identified as advisors, there is the CPM of the IPPC, the CGS centers, the Belmont Forum, UFRO, YAPS processors. So a mix of international organizations in charge of research funding, research initiatives, and organizations involved in policy making. So what will be the objectives of EUPHRESCO III? EUPHRESCO III will develop and test the models for the governance, the structure, and the operation of a global network for phytosanitary research coordination. It will develop a global strategic research agenda to guide the programming activities and the research activities in the countries, the region, and globally. We launch calls for joint transnational collaboration, and will serve as a platform for engagement with different stakeholders. So I would say nothing new compared to what EUPHRESCO is already doing. Simply, we are trying to scale the activities of EUPHRESCO to another level. But probably the most important objective of EUPHRESCO III is to build mechanisms. I've now been coordinating EUPHRESCO for 10 years, and I can say that still mechanisms are not in place, or at least they are not in place in all countries. And we have to build the mechanisms for research coordination and for international collaboration within an organization, between organizations in a country, between countries in one region, and between regions. And we need these mechanisms to be formalized, embedded in the procedures of the different organizations. We would like to avoid that these mechanisms depend on the willingness or the understanding or the proactive or not proactive attitude of a person. Because if the mechanism relies on a person, then the person leaves. We lose the coordination, we lose the link to that country, to that organization. By formalizing the mechanisms, we are certain that the coordination will remain in place over the time. And so the question is how to build a sustainable global phytosanitary research coordination. This is a question of at least 3 million euros. This is what we got from the Commission to try to set up the new network. And so I think that the answer to this question can only be found if we think business. So for each business, we have to identify a need of the market. In our case, the need is that the funding for plant health research is insufficient. And so it is not possible to work in isolation, but countries and organizations have to work together. So this has been the business model of EUPHRESCO and probably will not change. The question is what type of commodity the global network will have to sell, what the clients of the future network will be, what the business and the operations of the global structure will be. And finally, what will be the location of the secretariat of the global network. And so concerning the services and the goods, we have preliminarily identified a few. For the services, these are networking, information exchange, knowledge exchange, capacity building, research coordination, advice. For the goods, these are the research projects, but also the data, the presenters who provide us with a summary of the research activity talked a lot about data, and I'm a fervent supporter of open data and open science. So I think this can really be part of the business model of the future network. There is innovation, and this will be possible with the industry partners. There is knowledge for policy because EUPHRESCO is and will remain a tool to support policy making. So to answer to these questions, we have to decide what type of coordination is needed. Is there a need to have a low, a medium, or high level of coordination? This question is important because it will affect the scope of the activities, the timeline, the type of research, the outcomes of research, and also the participation in the network. Concerning the client, the question will be, who are the members, who are the client, how we will find them, when, who will be in charge of finding the client, what will be the role of the members, what will be the role of the client, how many members by region we should enroll. Should the region have the same numbers of members, or they can be unequal? How the members will contribute to the network, how the client, what the client will pay for. Concerning the business and the operations, it's important to set rules for the governance that serve a international, global, and diverse audience. So what are the models available? What will be the regions? Is there a scope to identify scientific and technical disciplines that will work within the regions? What will be the role of the members in the scientific work? what will be the role of the champions and what will be the role of the secretariat in the scientific work as well. And last but not least, the location. Would you like to have a network that is independent, or it's rather hosted or embedded in an existing organization? To answer this question, we have to identify what is essential to run the business and what are the resources available. And if it is decided that the network will be hosted or embedded somewhere else, we have to identify what are the organizations that are willing to host the network. And we have to find a way to embed the operations of the global network into an existing system in order to create synergies, but at the same time to avoid the conflict of interest. So many, many questions that we will try to address in the next 3 years. Obviously, EUPHRESCO members or EUPHRESCO III members, whatever they are, they cannot work alone. And we need the collaboration of all plant health organizations worldwide. And this is one of the reasons this symposium has been organized, and this is one of the reasons why I have the pleasure to talk to you, because we would like to launch a call. And I mean, of course, any help is needed, but right now we have some priorities. And right now we are looking to link and establish collaboration with research program owners and program managers and with policymakers, because they are the main drivers of EUPHRESCO activities. But we are also looking for experts in research coordination and international collaboration, because they can help us structuring the processes of the future global network. And we also need lawyers, because whatever structure, whatever process we will develop, it has to be written down in a good way and in a way that it cannot be challenged in the future. So if you are interested to work with us and to help us, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for this very nice overview of EUPHRESCO III. Normally, we would have a second speaker in this section, Dr. Anoybayev. He is a professor and director of the Research Institute of Plant Protection and Quarantine in Uzbekistan, and he is also a new EUPHRESCO III member, so he can highlight the benefits of participating in plant health networks. Unfortunately, we had a message yesterday that due to unforeseen circumstances, he could not be here today, but I referred to the program booklet, which contains an abstract of the speech he was going to give, which means that Baldissera has a Q&A all to himself. So it's again the same principle. Sorry for the people online that follow, but it's easier to just ask the questions here on site. Are there any people who have pressing questions for Baldissera related to the EUPHRESCO III network? Again, the same principle, not all at once. If you cannot think of, we have a question. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that presentation. I just had a question in relation to all of the a comment in relation to all of the questions you had at the end of your presentation. And given that it's a Horizon funded project, is there any scope for looking at how other Horizon funded projects brought all of their information and data flows together as part of an innovation system? Is there any learnings from other Horizon projects that could be useful in mapping the way forward to answer some of the many questions that you have as you progress? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, of course, when I try to work, I always try to see if things have not been done elsewhere. I think it is the first time that a European initiative is developing globally. So I don't think there is information from Horizon Europe projects, because of course there have been maybe Horizon Europe projects that have been building international systems, but what we would like to do is to develop an international system that is self-sustainable. So what we have been looking at, it's rather existing initiatives outside Europe, existing networks, and some of them were presented in my slide, like the Belmont Forum, Procissur, but also CABI. These are well-established network, and they are used to work with governments and collaboration. So they have already provided some of the information and the documents that we can use. But of course, we are open to have more information from outside.
Any other questions? If not, I would say Baldissera stays till the end, so you can always try your questions during his dinner. He will be available for you. Then thank you, Baldissera. Which leaves us with the final conclusions. So last but not least, I would like to give the floor to the head of the Contractual Research Unit of the Federal Public Service Health, Food Chain Safety and Environment of Belgium, Dr. Ria Nouwen, who's also known as my boss, for the final conclusions.
Thank you, Lena. The boss, I thought this was a famous American singer-songwriter, but okay. All jokes aside, what an interesting and inspiring afternoon this was. When we set up the program for this event, we started from the idea to use the momentum of the International Day of Plant Health to demonstrate the benefits of international collaboration in plant health, to be inspired by ongoing initiatives, and to reflect on the need for an intensified collaboration to tackle the challenges ahead of us. Should we turn this into a policy event, or should it be a scientific symposium? No, it should be both, demonstrating the need for a strong interconnection between science and policy to build that science-based policy at national, regional, and international level. As we could experience throughout the presentations and testimonies of this symposium, the seeds for a broad international network and strong collaboration between all plant health stakeholders have already been sown. So now it's time to spread these seeds and harvest success. Without overlooking the effect of other growing and beautiful initiatives around the globe, I believe that EUPHRESCO III project is able to catalyze this global transition. The Belgian Presidency team, the Belgian Federal Public Service Health, Food Chain Safety and Environment, and the EUPHRESCO III consortium wants to thank the speakers and all plant health fans in this room and online for turning this event into a success. We sincerely thank the Belgium Institute of Natural Science for providing this beautiful and inspiring location. Thank you for the technical team to assist us with the streamlining and lighting, and to Quinn for the booklet and the look and feel of this event. And a personal warm thank you goes to Lena, Sophia, and Anne, who, with their devoted time and efforts, enthusiasm, and wild ideas, colored this day. Not to forget my other close colleagues, all eager to help at all times. And thank you to my colleagues from the Plant Health Protection Unit and to Baldissera for the intense, fruitful, in-depth discussion on the program of today. Okay, leaves me to conclude. For the people here in the room, we will first take a family picture in the biodiversity lobby. Our team will guide you to this biodiversity lobby, and I hope it doesn't rain so we can go on the terrace to take the picture. And then we will offer you a dinner with the dinosaurs. So I hope you will stay for that. And for those following online, I'm sorry you missed the dinner. And I wish you a nice morning, a nice afternoon, or a relaxing evening, depending on where on the globe you are connecting from. Thank you again, and see you in future.
That was it.